Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to we're Facebook Live here from Expression Church, and I know many of you are watching by way of Facebook. And we're coming here tonight on our second part of our series, Expression Respond. You know, how do we respond to the situation we're in? I kind of was laughing in my head when they were just giving me the cue to go on. You know, 8 o'clock on a Tuesday night. You know, usually there's sports activities. There's all kinds of things on television. All types of activity. We're in the heat of basketball season, should be in the heat of basketball season, but with all of this going on, I think everybody's just kind of going stir crazy for the moment. So, you know, kind of shut in our houses as here in West Virginia tonight. I think at 8 o'clock tonight, I think is when it all kind of starts here, that we're supposed to be shut in the houses except for essential workers and essential, going to different people's house to check on them, or the drugstore, the pharmacies, whatever you have to do. Kentucky, Ohio, and many other states in the country have already been on this for a while. So here we are. And so what we thought we would do, and I know some of you are still joining in because I can see, we just wanted to come and help equip the body, especially our Expression Church family, because I know many of you are tuning in tonight or will watch this later. To how do we navigate through all of this? This is something we've never been through before. We've never experienced anything quite like this. We're all used to hustle and bustle and fast-paced lifestyles, and here we are, all of a sudden coming to a screeching halt, and everything just stops right in its tracks. But lots of discussion at the governmental level, both nationally and federally, as well as state and local. Lots of people are working hard. The healthcare professionals and people in that area are just doing incredibly well. I'm so thankful for all of you that are actually a part of that. So what we thought we would do Sunday night, if you get a chance to go back and look at the archive a few days ago, we brought Doug Reynolds on, and he's I consider an expert in small business, and gave some great insight on what does small business do in the midst of all of this. So you ought to refer back to that and go back and watch that if you get an opportunity. Some great questions that came in and were fielded from the viewers that were out there watching. And it is a fluid situation. So even on Sunday night, some of the things that he was answering, here we are 2 days later, and there's just more information and more developments. So this thing's always continuing to change and become real fluid. What we thought we'd do tonight is the second part of our series is to bring two good friends of ours, a part of our church here, board members of our church actually, but they're professionals. We want to talk about, what I'm experiencing in my house. We got kids confined into the house. So whether you have 1, 2, 3, 4, or wherever you are, you might be, here we are a week later, with all of this, the kids in, but schoolwork still has to go on. Many of you that are in jobs that require you to be out and working, or maybe you're able to work from home, how do you juggle all of this? So tonight, we've got two great guests that are professionals, I consider expert in husband and wife and family and mom and dad and grandpa and grandma, but also in their field of expertise. And I'll let them introduce and tell you what all they do. But this is Coach Larry Bryant and Madonna, his wife Madonna Bryant. So glad you guys are here tonight with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Coach, if you don't mind, just kind of tell the viewers a little bit about your background and your experience, and I'm sure they'll be able to see why I consider you kind of an expert in that area.
Well, I've been involved in education been teaching for, 46 years. I'm just 47. Started young. But I've been teaching a long time, coached over 25 years, and been married for a few years. But got a good wife, and we got 4 kids and 4 grandkids now, and so I can feel for you that you got a lot of kids at home right now, cooped up.
Yeah, and Madonna's she's not only a mother and a grandmother, but she's a professional. Tell a little bit what you do.
I'm a registered nurse. I've been a nurse 44 years, and I have worked pretty much full-time all of those 44 years. At this point in my career, I work at King's Daughters in Ashland, and I teach in the education department and set up school experiences for students.
That's great. And there should be a number on the screen that tells you if you want to text over a question, you can. We've got questions already have been coming in during the day, so we're going to kind of start with them. And if you've got a question or something that you hear, maybe triggers a question, go ahead and text that over to us. And over the next, 35, 40 minutes, whatever we're here, we'll just try to field some of those questions to help prepare you on how do we do this. I'll start with one. I had a guy, I think it was early last week. He has 4 children. And he is working out he's in the medical field, and he comes home. He's required to be there, so he's not able to work from home. And he comes home, and he gets this notification: schools are closed. And once the schools are closed, he's got 4 kids, all kids at school age. So he comes home after working hard in this environment, and the pressures and the worries and the stresses and the unknowns, and he comes home only to learn that he has 4 kids all doing online homework and has to keep up with it. And here he is with one of his sons. He said he had 14 or 15 pages of work to be done and needed to be done. And he said, I didn't realize I was going to have to be a healthcare professional. I already knew I was a dad, but now I'm having to be a math teacher as well as all these others. What do you say, Coach, to somebody that would be out there watching going, how do we do this?
Pray a lot.
Yeah.
It's tough. No way around it. You got kids at home. You got multiple responsibilities. You have to go to work. To make a living. But in this case, especially, a lot of people are dependent on you being at work. Lives are at stake, and so you can't just stay home, even though you may want to. A lot of it depends upon the age group of the kids, but if you can get down some kind of routine for them, certain hours, you're doing this amount of time, and structure is the big key. In any child's life. I don't care if it's, even when times are good, times are regular times. If a child has some structure, they will tend to do better. I know, okay, the world's upside down, and okay, let's stay up all night tonight. Well, that might be all right on the weekend or something, but where they're having schoolwork, still make them go to bed. That regular time that they normally go to bed. Hey, it's bedtime. You got to maintain that structure in their life in order to work through this. And I feel for you because you are going to have to work with your kids more. Let me say, you should be working with your kids anyway, doing homework and stuff, checking over it. And once again, age is another big thing. I remember, both of us, taking turns doing this or doing that, helping with homework. And so really that's something that hopefully you're doing anyway. But in times like these, I realize, it's even more so. Because, okay, you're getting all this maybe online instruction. You're getting these packages of information. But then, the kid, well, wait a minute, I don't really understand this. Well, wait a minute, let me see if I can figure it out. So, it is tough. You want to.
Well, know your resources.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a big piece. Do you have a relationship with that teacher that you could text, you could call, you could email to find out exactly if you do have questions or the child does, how can we help that child? Because the bottom line is they need to get their homework done. And in order to do that, we may have to step outside of our bounds a little bit, to try to get some help with it. And there are other teachers that who might even help. I've seen several teachers on Facebook put it out there. If your child needs help during this time, I teach this age group, and I'm happy to help. And they really mean it, or they wouldn't put it out there. So resources are a big piece of it.
That's very good. So you're saying, gosh, structure and resources. So you're saying, go ahead, and it's not going to be forever. We know this is. We're even believing now that we're even hearing today. It's sooner than later. So things may not be as long as we thought they were going to be originally. So you're saying structure. So get the kids together, go ahead and put a schedule together, almost like they get a schedule at school. Right. And every kid, whether they're in pre-K or K all the way up through high school, gets a schedule. They kind of get into a routine where it's pretty much the same every day. Right. So you're saying, hey, the best thing to do is get them to bed at a decent time. This isn't summer break. Right. So they have to know that, I guess, is the structure. And I know every kid just turned us off that was watching or coming by this computer. I know every one of them just did. But then that's a great point, Madonna, about resources, because there are an incredible number of teachers that are out there that already we have relationships with. That I'm sure parents have relationships. Right. It may not even be their own teacher. It could be somebody that they have a sister or brother, or somebody that they have in their family or friends and relationships that they could contact and say, I'm having, because I don't know, you probably don't know this because you're a teacher, educator, but have you actually looked at some of the homework that these kids are bringing home today? I'm embarrassed, I mean, Caden wanted to help with something and I didn't. I'm going to defer to Lisa, come and do this homework, because there's just no way. And my sister's a school teacher as well. I've been in it for years. And also I have to appreciate the fact too is the school system was not, the teachers were not ready for something like this. So they've never been sit down and oriented and taught and structured on how to maybe even communicate some of this and put these plans in place.
Right. A lot of schools are doing something like that. In a lot of the states around, they, like I know in Kentucky, and I think maybe in the other surrounding states, they have certain packets already ready, but that was like for, a few snow days. This is a little bit more than just a few snow days. Yeah. So you are having to rethink, and like the school that I teach at a private school now, Covenant, but we're looking at doing online things as well. I mean, we've got some packets that we're sending home right now, but depending on if this carries on, we'll be doing online instruction and stuff. So it's so teachers as well as parents are having to adjust and make preparation.
That's good.
Something a little different.
That's good. Let's go to some of our questions. Pastor Stephanie, you're out there with all these questions coming in. What do you have?
First off, have you ever experienced this before, having to corral your children in a home for an extended period of time? If so, how in the world did you do it?
Well, of course, nothing quite like this, but we kind of was talking about something similar to this, where
Well, it was in the 90s. We had this huge blizzard. And we have 4 children of our own, and our son, I think he was 8 or so at the time, had 3 friends over, and the blizzard hit.
Unexpected blizzard.
Yes. It was like we woke up and there it was. Well, these kids could not get home, so we had 7 kids in the house for 3 or 4 days by the time we could get everyone home. And so, we had to come up with ways to entertain them. Food, that was another thing, we weren't prepared, so we had to come up with ideas of things they could eat and things they could do. We played games, and when you have 4 8-year-old boys in the house, they like to eat.
Yeah.
So I was making lots of food, and Larry was trying to get to the store when he could, so... but we couldn't get those kids home. And that's really, and the girls, we had 2 girls, and then we had a younger boy. So it was quite interesting trying to keep everyone from fighting and tearing the house apart, and just in general, that's a lot. So when you think about now, and you're trying to throw homework in, and you're parents that do have to go to work, they can't be there and watch their children, so you're depending on the siblings, and siblings love to fight, so it's quite interesting when you get that mix.
With this being sort of an extended
Yeah.
time period like that, we do have some great technology now that we didn't have back
Yes,
then. I mean,
yes.
we might have had Nintendo that could entertain them a little bit and stuff, but that will sort of help keep that family unity in there as well. There are some other activities. There's even games that kids play online together and stuff now. Of course, you need to kind of monitor some of those games, but there's a lot of activities that you can do. Once again, depending on the age again, have some chores for them to do.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I think I like what you said about the structure and the resources. It goes right back. Everything goes back and flows from the structure. So there's got to be some responsibilities in the house while they're there, rather than just especially the people that are watching. They're working from home. I mean, Lauren sent us a picture today. She's working home and she got little ones, and they don't know that mom has responsibilities. And when mom's home, mom's mom. But they don't understand how to turn it on and turn it off. So it's difficult. Is it safe to say that we're not going to get the quality of education over this time period that we could have in the right setting and the right way we instruct, and we're not going to get the right productivity from employees while they have to work at home? Would you agree with that? This is just a concession of what we're going to have to make. And I would like to just relieve a little bit. I'm not giving a pass to just do nothing, because you do have to make the best of a bad situation. But I don't know that I would put myself under an enormous amount of pressure and stress over a short period of time for you to sit home and go, oh my gosh, you people that like things perfect, and I'm one of those people sometimes. I like things to go the right way. I don't know that you need to put yourself under that kind of pressure and that kind of stress to think everything's going to be perfect, because this is just a short period of time. It's just a snapshot of a long period of time in life, that if education in a child's life is defined in 3 weeks or 4 weeks, then we got a bigger problem. Or if it's your employer feels that you're not up to par in the 3 or 4 weeks that you could have been when working in an office, then there's probably a bigger issue than that. So we're all having to make adjustments and concessions. So I don't really want to give people a pass to not do anything, because we have to make the best of a bad situation. But I also think that it's important not for us to be under some sort of unrealized expectation, thinking that we're having to fix all of education for our kid and be a 100% productive employee at the same time. Would you guys agree with that?
Right. And going along with what you're saying, I know some people, they get so uptight, they get so anxious that, everything has to be perfect. Well, no, everything doesn't have to be perfect. Just put it in the, if you're one of those types of people that, it's just really messing you up, then get before the Lord with it, and turn it over to Him, and have faith that, in this mess, that He'll still bring something good out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, don't want to be like Adam when it was that woman you gave me, Lord. And so the next thing you know, you're blaming the kids and you resent the job, Right. Well, what's our next question?
How do you communicate to your little ones what is happening without instilling fear in them?
That's a good question.
I think the key part of that is you can't have fear in you. If you have fear in you, then that's going to show up to your kid. Your child can sense, when something's wrong, and so you have to be calm. You have to have that peace within you. If you're all uptight and you're so anxious and so worried that the world's going to end, how am I going to do this? How am I going to get toilet paper? The child's going to pick up on that, and they're naturally going to get tense, and they're naturally going to get anxious and fearful. So you need to calm yourself.
And we've taught her how to wash her hands really well. Being a nurse, you know, I've started that from a very young age with all my grandchildren. And then we've also explained why she can't visit. She wants to visit her great-grandma. She wants to visit her great-aunt. So we FaceTime, and we let her see them, and we explain we're keeping her safe. We're keeping Mamaw safe because Mamaw's elderly, and we don't want her to be, you know, get sick. So, I mean, she understands this, and she tells us, you know, when we are doing something that we shouldn't be doing, well, you didn't wash your hands, you know. So I think that you do have to, like, explain it to them in words they can understand, but at the same time, not be afraid, you know. And they're not afraid if you explain everything to them. I think they can make sense out of it.
Right, and especially if you're pointing to the Lord and God in the whole situation, and that God is in control of this. He's seeing us through, and it's a good opportunity for us to be able to teach them the ways of God and how the Lord works and provides and keeps us safe and gives us wisdom and practical and not common sense at times too. So those are great points. Next question.
This is coming from a lady. It says, I'm a single mom that also works in an essential field. I work 40 hours a week, and now my children are home. How do I balance this career without getting short with my kids and also giving into the stress of my job?
That's a tough question because I've had to go to work every day as well, and everyone else is at home, but I don't have small children by themselves. I'm hoping the age range, I don't know what that is, but you know, you have to depend on the older children to help at home and then keeping that structure. And as a parent, a single parent, that throws a lot of responsibility when you do come home, that you have to make sure all the homework's done. So I think your older children can help the younger children with homework and have that out of the way by the time you get there. You know, give them tasks to do, give them time frames to work on homework with each, and along with that come breaks for them. And then you have to determine what's really important to you once you do get home, you know, because the house can wait. The kids have to have food, they have to do their homework, and then the rest of it, you can let it go. I had to learn after 4 children to let a lot of things go and not let them just eat me alive. And I prayed a lot about it because that was really hard for me. But as a single parent, you know, there's a lot on your shoulders, and work's very important because you're lucky that you get to work and make your salary, you know, or your income. So that's important right now too. So count your blessings, love your children, and then the rest will work itself out.
I like what you said. Don't major on the minors. There are some things it's going to be the way it is, and if the house is just not exactly the way you always wanted it to be during this time, you're just going to have to adjust, right? It's just no sense in putting yourself under undue pressure that's already there.
Yeah.
Here's another question. How do you explain the severity of the pandemic situation to teenagers, young adults, and even boomers who don't think it's something to take seriously, and they push back on the restrictions?
Next question.
No, well, that's a good one. I mean, you know, and you can point. Okay, there's great examples out there. Some young 20-year-olds went to a party, you know, a coronavirus party, and then guess what? Some of them came down with the virus. You know, some of the kids went to spring break. Oh yeah, and you know, and that's another thing that you need to really kind of focus on a little bit is the age. You know, some things are more age appropriate than others, but you know, if they're up there, upper teens and so on, you know, they can get it. And if you point some things out to them, well, yeah, look, they thought they was Superman too. They thought they were invincible and they got it. You know, how smart were they? You know, you're smart. I know you're smarter than that. You know, so yeah, I mean, it's just natural that a teenager wants freedom. you know, that they want to go do what they want to go do. They want to be with their friends when they want to be with their friends. But guess what? That's just natural. You know, that's nothing. That's not that, oh, I got bad kids because they want to do that. That's just natural. That's age appropriate.
But you do have to set boundaries.
Yeah.
And you do have to set those expectations. And so by setting that example yourself, then you can teach your children. And then making sure that they know what population is at risk, because their grandparents could be at risk. And you don't want something bad to happen to your grandparent. So I think you have to, sometimes bribery helps too, you know.
Yeah.
For this amount of time, you're going to have to do what we tell you. And let's make some fun out of that at home. No friends allowed. You know, you can't leave the house, or you can't, if you do leave, you leave with me, that type of thing.
And pointing it back to, it's not about them. I
Right.
mean, because teenagers, it really is a lot about self at that
Yes.
point. And it's a time for us to be able to tell them it's not about them. And if that don't work, then there's a scripture that says, spare the rod, spoil the child. Not just kidding. Just you use that for your own interpretation. But really at that point, because teenagers they've got freedom. They're used to running and going, and their restrictions are much less. And here they are now confined. They don't even want to listen to the parents a lot of times, let alone listen to the government when they tell them they have to stay home. But yet the reality of it is, things are just shut down, and it's a time where we do think about the seniors. It's a time to think about the people that are compromised with their immunity system, and people that are at risk. And it's not a time for us to think about ourselves. And I think that's probably a big lesson. They're not always going to get it, but thank God this isn't going to last always.
Yeah.
And the Bible's clear. Things just it came to pass. So thank God this comes to pass as well.
What's the best way to handle a split home situation during this? When you work in the healthcare field and you're worried about bringing it home to them, is it best for that child to stay at one home during this until it's over instead of going back and forth between houses?
That is very difficult because we're dealing with that ourselves with our granddaughter. Her mother gets to work from home, and her father lives in another state, and he is working in an area that's at risk. But he still wants his time with her. So, and legally, he gets that time. It would have to be, and anything you've read about it, because my daughter actually researched it, and it says to try to keep a normal schedule for that child, that's the best for them to see both parents. But, you know, you have to be within reason. And hopefully one of the parents would consider that maybe they are more of a risk for that child and say, well, let them stay with you for now. But, I mean, I don't have good answers to that, because what I would like to do is just keep mine home all the time. But, you know, it's not up to me. And a parent wants their time. They love their child, and they want to see their child.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sometimes, things like that is out of your hands, because of court orders or this or that. You just got to, you got to obey the law and trust the Lord. Stay prayed up and, pray over your child. God's good, and, he knows the situation even better than what we know it, or even better than what you know your own situation. And, he's faithful. He's able to take care of them in dire situations. And so, that's just a general rule for any parent.
Yes.
You need to turn your kids, over to the Lord, and let the Lord, deal with their hearts, and let the Lord, protect them. Pray for them and do what you can, but ultimately, submit them unto the Lord.
Yes.
And would you agree too, if you're watching out there and you're in this situation, check yourself, check your heart, make sure that you're not becoming maybe using the situation to get at the other person or to use leverage, and using the situation or the child or children as leverage. Make sure you put the child first in this whole situation. This won't last long. Any sacrifice, which we're all making sacrifices, and I understand this question is difficult because, it's already difficult. It's already a hard situation before this complicates it. But I would just ask you to be even ultra sensitive and thinking about what am I going to do here for this child without putting the other person in the situation. But just check yourself to make sure I'm not utilizing this or using this to get an advantage or to be selfish or for leverage. And then once you do that and you're not, then I believe the Lord will bless it. But anytime we're using that thing against one another, then it becomes a situation that's out of hand. Him being a person that works in the professional field, thinking about the child, how do I handle that? It all comes down to what do you feel as a parent that's best for your child. And as long as you're making that decision and that choice first and foremost, and that becomes the filter that you see or live through and lens that you see through, I don't think you can go wrong.
During a time like this, it feels like an opportunity to influence our kids spiritually with time that we don't normally have during the week. What are some ways that that we could take advantage of the time that they're home to grow in unity of the faith as a family?
I think a daily devotional works
That's
great. If you can, even with small children, you can read a small verse, give a Bible story, and then talk about it, and let them tell you what they learned from it. Because children have big hearts, and they absorb a lot more than what you think that they do. And they can tell you about the Lord. They know Jesus. And I believe that Jesus talks to these children too, at times when they, just settle their hearts and they're still, and the Lord can talk to them and deal with them and move them. So I think daily devotionals work great.
That's a great point.
How do you keep your kids involved in their sporting activities during these moments?
Coach?
Yeah, they shut down all sports, but kids still want to be involved in sports. Let them. A lot of sports will have, all sports have different drills that they do or different exercises. Encourage them to carry on. To stay in shape. Get out there and jog alone. Your distancing and stuff, but do some exercises. Whether it's push-ups or sit-ups or and watch your kids. Watch them do some ball drills or something. Get engaged with them a little bit. Go outside and throw the baseball with them a little bit. It's not going to be the same, but at least they're doing something, and it's something that they enjoy or they wouldn't be involved in any way. And so, they can see that you're taking at least trying to take an active part in it and letting them do something with that as much as you can, under life circumstances.
I've been encouraged too by Little League, as well as some of the other sporting events. I know Garner Rhodes, another traveling basketball team, AAU team. They're complying, because they're at first, people kind of thought, well, gosh, here we are right in the middle of baseball, transition basketball. And we thought, well, we won't do it. Since they're not sanctioning it, we can go ahead and do little things on our own. And probably nothing wrong with that to be in a smaller scale. But the fact that they decided not to do that spoke volumes, because it taught the kids how to listen and learn and comply. And now we're going to just have to be creative on how they dribble. And at our house, there's nothing I'm just telling you, it'll be 10 o'clock at night, and there'll be a basketball starts bouncing off the walls, or the baseball bat gets swung and hits something. A golf club goes through, and you're thinking to yourself, typically we would be going, don't do that. Like, you can't do that. But now we're going, how far did it go? Did you do it again? Why? Because we're just trying to encourage. So it's going to be, like you said, it's outside the box. We're going to have to think out. Everybody's going to be inconvenienced. But the kids have to have an outlet. I mean, they've got to have that outlet, especially if they're sports-minded and been in sports their whole life. And here they are, going into a summer season or spring season. Little League usually would be 2 weeks away from starting. They would all be practicing, everything would be out and about, and here we are with this. So I would just encourage you not to get so frustrated or aggravated at them for trying to get that outlet, and anything they can do outside, like you said, social distancing outside themselves without a bunch of kids, just let them do and run and play and, hit the ball and whatever they got to do to just get that energy out there. For our sake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next question.
What have you found works keeping your family centered in the middle of these times when social media seems to be spouting so much fear and uncertainty?
Yeah, social media is, it's a blessing and it's a curse. I think you really need to limit some social media. We need to limit it to ourselves. We need to cut off some of the negativity that we see all the time. And same thing is true with our kids. The world is going to be negative, okay? That's just part of being the world. And so you always need to guard against that, but especially in times like this, I think we're seemingly, there's people out there beating the drum, stirring up more fear. The real pandemic more so is fear than anything else. And so, I think that part of it is how you are going to react to it. Whether we like it or not, we are a model. We do model for our kids. The kids do see how we react to different things, and they pick up on that. And so they're going to follow sort of down that same path line. And so if you're on social media a lot and it's tearing you up to where that you can't see straight, stop. Because your kids are going to do the same thing. If you're going to get on social media, maybe pass through the negative stuff real fast, because there is some good positive stuff there. And so accentuate that positive. Really dwell on the positive part, and sort of just skip over the negative. But
I think it's good to center a family like around laughter. Have some games you play, have some fun. We play games sometimes with Arabella, and she loves that. She always wants us watching everything she's doing. So, she doesn't, at her age, she doesn't really know a lot of what's going on out there. But, she will take a lot of time on social media as well if we will let her. But you need breaks from that. You need to have some laughter. You need to have some good family times. And part of that, again, is that daily devotional. I think when you center everything back around Christ, that really does help. And it takes away some stress.
Yeah. And I would like to add, the parents or grandparents or whoever that voice is has to be louder than the social media voice.
Yeah.
So your voice needs to be the voice that has more authority or makes more sense. They believe more, they hear more credibility from you. So if social media has more of an influence than we do, then we probably ought to shift a little bit more time. Social media is probably getting more time with them than we are.
Yeah.
And that balance and that shifting has to take place. So I would just encourage you to talk to them. There's got to be some dialogue. There's got to be some discussion happening. What are they hearing? What are they feeling? What are they sensing? And then when they feel it and sense it and hear it, and you're able to help shape it for them, coming from a place from centered on Christ and centered on the Bible. So that's the real thing I'm seeing more than anything is just so many people, even good godly people, are. I've had so many people call me on the phone or text and say, "I really believe this is the end of the world," and I said, "Well, as we know it, but it's not the end of the world. And I've had him come and said, I can see Jesus coming back this weekend, and I'm not writing a book about it because I know the last guy he sold him and he didn't come to pass. So I just think we got to be careful for some of those things. Question?
How do you help your grown children during this time with their children? Giving advice, helping them in general?
Well, hopefully, if you got grown kids, you've taught them well, and they got good heads on their shoulders, and they're handling this situation well themselves. But one of the things that we do with our kids, our grandkids, we do a little FaceTime and stuff. You got to keep that family connection. So even though we're in different households, that's one of the great things about that media is that you can still be there. You can still see, the grandkids doing something. You can still interact, with your son or your daughter. And so, I think one of the important things is, and hopefully one of the good things that can come out of this, is that there is a recentering of the family structure.
Yeah.
I think that for a long time we let the family structure just sort of scatter. We didn't do all the things that we needed to do. I think especially, when our kids were small, we didn't have a lot of the social media. So we played the Monopoly and played the Uno and things like that with them. That's still good today, though. If you got kids around at the house, sit down and do something together. Sit down and, I don't like Uno. Well, play a game anyway. So do something together as a family. You may not. I know. Social distancing. You might all go somewhere together. I think some of the parks and stuff are open. Just don't get around other people. So there are things you can do as a family, but I think that's one of the things that I hope is going to reemerge from all this is stronger family connections. We don't take family for granted.
Yeah.
Maybe like we did a few weeks ago.
Another thing is making sure when you are getting to talk to your family that they know how much you love them, that they know, that you're there for them and that you care. The kids love to hear, "I love you." And they love to know you're wanting to give them kisses and hugs, and so that's something I'm really good at because I am one of those touchy grandparents. I love to hug the kids. I love to kiss on them. And right now I can't, so I just pretend I am when I'm talking to them on social media. And they are throwing me kisses back. So, just letting your kids know, you would love to see them and how much you care about them. I tell my mom the same thing. I want to see my mom, and I'm afraid to go there because of where I've been working, and I don't want to make her sick, because she is at risk with her age. So I'm very careful, but I want to see my mom. I miss her terribly, but I talk to her at least once a day, sometimes more. So I think keeping a connection to where that closeness is very important.
That's good.
This tags on to what you were just saying. This lady says, I'm helping my elderly mother with dementia during this time. I feel like a parent again, and my kids are already grown. Some unexpected bills have come up, and I'm finding myself even more stressed at this time. How do I handle my own stress, but also these things with my mom that has dementia?
Wow.
Yeah. The world goes on. You may be out of work because of all this, but guess what? You still got bills coming in. you just have to, trust in the Lord. Maybe, talk to those people. Let them know, hey, this is a situation right now. Can't pay it all right now, but I will make good on it. You can't let those things weigh you down. And the enemy's good at this. He's good at getting us to feel bad about ourselves, even when it's a situation like this that there's maybe it's out of your hands. There's nothing that you can do about it. You have to stay home. Just trust the Lord. The Lord is our provider.
Right.
And don't know how it will come through, but somehow things will take care of themselves as long as you trust in the Lord.
Know that you're doing what you need to do. You're doing the right thing, and that you'll get a reward for that, because there is nothing better than caring for your parent that needs you. And I think, it's easy to worry about the bills. I mean, I'm still working, and I'm so thankful for that, but I have children that are not. And so, I'll be trying to help them with some of their financial issues later too. But I would do anything for my mother. I would do whatever it takes to keep her well and safe during this time. And you're doing the right thing.
Gosh, that was good.
As a healthcare professional, Madonna, do you take any special precautions before you come home?
I take precautions at work, constant through the day, and then when I come home, I immediately change clothes, wash my hands, shower, whatever, to make sure that everyone in my family is safe and everyone in my home. And then we're cleaning with good cleaning supplies. We're making sure if we bring in any groceries or anything like that, that we're cleaning those before we bring them into the house. It's just real important. I don't know, I don't work immediately around the patients, but I teach classes for the nurses that care for those patients. So, we all have to use our social distancing. We limit our classes if we're having any. Several of our classes have been canceled, but it's real important when you come home that you don't bring any of that in to your family.
That's good.
I have a senior that's missing out on her senior year. She's been looking so forward to it. Any encouragement or ways that I can help her get through this time with giving her some hope?
Yeah, that's tough. It's senior year is a big year. You got senior prom, you got you got this and that, but you have to keep it all in perspective. I think that most seniors are pretty mature, and they don't like missing out on certain things, but they're mature enough to understand why. Hopefully this will be over with in a few weeks, and we can get in prom and graduation and all those things, and so they won't miss out on that much. But we as parents and other loved ones of seniors, we just have to let them know how much we appreciate them and how proud that we are of them. Different generations go through different things. My father's generation, World War II's going on, and so you had a lot of guys that were quitting school, not even getting to finish high school, going to protect this nation, to protect their loved ones. And so, seniors are sort of doing that in that they're protecting their loved ones also, protecting their community. There's sacrifice. And I've read before, it's when generations go through periods of turmoil, periods of sacrifice, where it forces them to grow up, they become happier. Those are happier generations. And so, let everything that's happening, let that be something good. Don't. It's easy to dwell on the negative side, but try to find something good with it. Hey, this is a little extra time I got to spend with my senior, because they're going to be leaving. Yeah. They're not going to be at home all the time. Mm-hmm. And so this is some extra time that I get to spend with them, and they get to spend with you. Hey, Mom and Dad's not going to be around all the time either. Enjoy the time that you have together. And I think we'll all come out of this much stronger. And I think overall, most of them will have a good attitude about it. It's natural. You get you miss your friends. You miss some things in your senior year, and we got to try to do some things that we can do as a community, as family, to make up on some of those things. But just turn it over to God, I guess. Once again, I know that's easier said than done sometimes, but God's got it in control. And I think especially students that do have that Christian perspective are going to come through this a lot better and be better individuals for it.
I also would like to say, no matter how this year goes, this is the senior year. Even though we're taking this break now for people, to be safe, once this is over, it's still a part of your senior year. So a lot of the schools are probably going to postpone some things, and it may not be the end all. It may be that there are some things that happen later that they can go back and have those experiences. Yeah. And that is what my hope is, because I know how special that is for these kids. And I think the school officials know that, the teachers know that, and the parents know that. So I think at some point there will be some way that they can allow these kids to have a good senior year.
Yeah. It may not be what it would have been,
right,
but it doesn't have to be completely lost either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My middle son has the flu. We've quarantined him and he's been tested negative, but my other children are not helping the situation. How do I protect him from the fear and my other children treating him like he has the plague? He's scared now, and they're all scared of having any kind of sickness here out.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but that just is like a common theme, I think, right now, because it doesn't matter who is sick. The other people think that it's a plague. But when it's in your own family, like we quarantined our kids many times through the years, just, putting one in a bedroom away from the others because they had something that was contagious, and we hopefully kept the others from getting it. But you just have to explain to the kids, that if that were you, how would that make you feel? And, they're trying to protect you and keep you safe. And then the child that has the flu, you have to feel bad for him because he's taking the brunt of everything right now. Just pray about it. Teach your kids that, it's the flu and it is contagious, and that it's not coronavirus. So it could be worse.
She's much nicer than me. I would say, stop it, or we're going to put you in. If you don't go clean your room, you're going to have to go in there. Yeah, yeah. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Use it to your advantage. Do what you got to do, because you're all confined together.
Yeah.
But this has been enjoyable. You've just, both of you, full of so much wisdom. Got some experience, compassion, love, great biblical perspective. Coach, I'm going to put you kind of on the spot. We're going to close down here in just a minute, but why don't you kind of I'll close this out, but why don't you just kind of, what do you feel is happening? Tell me what do you sense that's going on spiritually? It doesn't have to be about families at home confined. What do you sense that's going on? And then I'll take us out of here.
I don't believe that God sent this, but God is using it.
Yeah.
And I think, when you refine something, it goes through the fire. It goes through something. There's heat applied. There's pressure applied. And so that's what's happening here. The church is being refined. I think that, when we come out of this, it's Katie bar the door, as they say. I think it's going to be a new church. I think we're going to be a refreshed church, a strong church, a church that's going to hear, our spiritual hearing is getting more in tune. In the natural we get, this is a little gross, but we get earwax sometimes, right? I think that, we're doing the things now spiritually, we're being refined. There's this pressure that's coming upon the world. I think there's great opportunity. The world is scared. The world is upside down. People that are lost, they don't know what to do. Great opportunity for the church. This is our shining moment. Right now, while all this is going on, although we're cooped up in one respect, we're not really cooped up. We shouldn't be. We should be out there checking on our elderly. We should be out there helping our neighbor. Do we know somebody that's hurt? Do we know somebody that needs something? Then we should be doing that.
Yeah.
The church isn't the building. We are the church. And so, we want to do things corporately through the building structure of the church, but there's nothing stopping you individually from doing things, from helping people to making sure your neighbor's got food, making sure that your neighbor is taken care of. This is what the church should be doing right now. And there's some things that I know we can do collectively, and we are doing those things. But there's things that we all can be doing individually.
Yeah.
And we should be doing those things. Just a real quick story, since I teach history. It was the Roman Empire. The Romans killed Christians, didn't like us, persecuted us. 3rd century, the middle 200s, big plague came through. Who do you think that helped the needy, that helped the sick? It was Christians. And that one act in Christians just being Christian, burying the dead, trying to care for the sick, it changed the whole mindset of the Roman Empire on what a Christian is. And it made them more open to Christianity. And Christianity really started taking off at that point, so much so that emperors after that got on to the secular priests that they weren't doing enough to help the people because everybody was going to the Christians. And so, this is a great opportunity for the church to be the church. Mm-hmm. I've said for a long time, especially here in America, I think we as the Christian church in America got real complacent. We got we got in a real slow state of doing things. Our spiritual hearing got dulled in a lot of us. But I think we're going to come out of this more alive than we've ever been before. There's already been a great revival that's been going on even before this, and I think it's just going to, really take off as a result of this.
I agree. Gosh, here we are. I do want you to know tomorrow evening, as we wrap up here, or tomorrow evening, our midweek service, we call it the mid, will happen at 7 o'clock right here. We'll be coming to you live. We're not going to be gathering together corporately this week, Wednesday night or Sunday, but we're going to see what happens because I believe the Lord is opening the doors. Things are starting to change. I believe that you're going to see some incredible things happen. So tomorrow night, I'm going to bring a message about what it was like when John the Baptist and Jesus kind of come together, the state of the condition of life, the transition of life, and where do we go from here, how the parallels and are so similar where we are today. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll be doing this again on Thursday night, 8 o'clock, with another topic in our Express and Respond series, and we'll see you guys tomorrow night at 7 o'clock at the Mid. God bless you all.